If I look tired today, it's because of one of two reasons, or both. And the first one is because the past 2 weeks I have been filming non-stop. Like every single day I have put on makeup, I have filmed videos, because it was the end of 2020 and it was the beginning of a new year and I had to put out a lot of content. My skin was crying. It is still crying because there's so many times that I have applied makeup, removed it, and it's breaking out. Like my acne is coming back. So I didn't want to do that today, and to be able to touch my face is like amazing. The only makeup I have on is lipstick and kajal. That is all. Nothing more than that. And the second reason is because I'm actually tired. What a great start to 2021. Happy New Year, folks. Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I am here today with my December 2020 wrap-up and to talk about all the books that I read in the last month of the worst year of my life. In December, I read 16 books and I was hoping to read a few more, but I did not get to them because it became so hectic after a point and I am completely tired. But my original point was that I read only 16 books. Not only, it's quite a bit, but I was hoping to get through 3 more books, but because of that whole hectic time I was not able to get through them, and now I'll be considering them as 2021 reads. And yes, since there are 16 books that I want to share with you, let's just get on with this video and let me share with you all the books that I read in December 2020. So before I start this video, I just like to say that if you would like to buy any of the books mentioned in this video, then please do use my Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. The price remains the same for you when you buy these books, but I get a small commission off of every purchase that you make, so it would be of a great help if you could use these links when you make your purchases. Thank you. The first book that I read in December 2020 was My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout, and I did not like it. It figured in one of my worst books of 2020, and I listened to this on Libro FM. It was about 1 hour, 1.5 hours long, but I still wouldn't recommend it. This is the story of Lucy Barton, who is recovering from a surgery and her mother comes to visit her, and she now has to confront her feelings about her childhood and her love for the people currently in her life, her kids and her husband and everything. That is the short gist of it, but I didn't see a point. There was so much disconnect between the dialogue that was going on and between the narrative that told Lucy's story. It was not coherent. I felt there was no clarity. It was not clear what Lucy was trying to tell by telling this story, what she wanted the reader to understand and who she was telling this to. There's absolutely no clarity at all, and that is something that always grinds my gears. And to see that this was the first read of a month that was about to become one of my most hectic months, like, I was not a fan. I gave My Name is Lucy Barton 2 stars out of 5. Oh god, why? The second book that I read in December was one of my most anticipated reads of 2020, and the book is The Girl and the Goddess by Nikita Gill, and oh my god, this book was such a treat. It made me feel things. It made me think for 2-3 days straight, and I still can't formulate enough words verbally to talk about this book in a manner that will help the people or you people understand what this book means to me. I've already done a whole blog post about this book, and it went into I think 1500 words or something. I'll leave the link in the description box below if you want to go check that out. But this, oh my god, Nikita Gill's writing, it fills me with hope, it fills me with fire, it fills me with an emotion that tells me that you can do anything. The world is a shithole, but you can find hope in it. And that message is everything to me. This is a novel in verse, and this is a story of Paro, who is an Indian girl who is trying to find life on her own terms. Does that make sense? But she encounters people and things and feelings that she does not want to acknowledge because she feels that they are detrimental to her own development as a human. But she gets visits from these goddesses who talk to her, who tell her what the truth actually is. And as she moves from Kashmir to Delhi to London, as her feet take her throughout these geographies, it's really encouraging to see how she evolves, how she develops. But it's also rather relatable because I found myself in these pages, and I found, as an Indian girl, how society treats girls and how it treats boys, the freedom that is accorded to girls and the freedom that is accorded to boys. Girls' freedoms are this much, boys this much. That relatability factor is what pulls me to books if I like them. If a book is relatable to me, then I will love it with my entire soul till the end of time. That's one quality that a book needs to have for me to love it, and this has it in droves. It has relatability, it has beauty, it has strength, it has power, it has warmth. What else do I say? This is one of my favorite books of 2020, and I love this so much. And I gave this a full 5 out of 5 stars. What else was I going to give it? Because it was chef's kiss. Amazing. Next up is Beach Read by Emily Henry, and I want to say right off the bat that I had these many expectations from this book. Maybe I shouldn't have had, but I did have for this. But it ended up falling somewhere here. Beach Read is the story of January Andrews and Augustus Everett. January Andrews is a romance writer who does not seem to be finding the inspiration. She's going through something and she ends up at this beach house. Augustus Everett, on the other hand, is a writer of literary fiction, and he is also stuck in a rut. And these two end up living in beach houses, neighboring beach houses, and now they have a challenge going, saying that whoever can write in the other genre, like January will write literary fiction and Augustus will write something happy and kind of romancy kind of thing, and whoever can sell their book first will end up winning. And this is what propels them, and how they interact with each other. Will they end up writing what they are looking for while working their way on the lines of the rules that they've set up, forms the entire story. See, I'm going to be honest and say that it was not that I did not like this book. I liked a lot of the parts where they are bantering with each other, the wisecracks that they have against each other, and the way their backstories are coming to mingle with their current stories, with where they are in life at the moment, as well as with each other. And I really liked those parts, but I felt that it was rather contrived. It felt forced, and it felt like that ending could have been written a lot better. And that's not the only complaint though. There was a lot of to and fro. Maybe that's a character quirk, or maybe that's the quirkiness of the writer coming up, but that was not for me. And I can't really tell what it is about this book that needs to be changed and made into a better book, but there needed to be some shifting of things, some removal of that inconsistency, that uncertainty, that would have made this book into a much cohesive, much better loved book, I feel like. But I must also say that a lot of people have been enjoying this book, and maybe it's just me. I gave Beach Read 3.5 out of 5 stars. Next up is a book that I was so excited about, but then I found that it was super predictable. And the book I'm talking about is Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, or Agatha Christie, however you want to pronounce it. This is the story of a cast of characters on a ship on the Nile. It's pretty obvious from the title, and thanks to their backstories of the number of people who are present over there and the mingling of them and all of that, someone is murdered. And Hercule Poirot is there to find out who did it. And I feel like this is one of the only Agatha Christie's books that I absolutely knew who the killer was. and it was super predictable. See, once you realize that, oh yeah, this is where this is going, it takes half the fun out of it. And I don't really want to talk more about it because it was the same fare. I didn't have that, oh my god, I need to know what's happening thing, because I already knew what was happening. I gave Death on the Nile 3 out of 5 stars. The writing is still good, but it's the plot that's the problem. The next book that I read was I Must Belong Somewhere by Dawn Lanuza. This was a NetGalley arc that I got, and I love this book so much. This is a collection of poetry that will hit you out of nowhere. Like, you should know what you are getting into when you read this book, okay? Because this is a book that talks about finding a home. Like, when the main character in this collection is moving from place to place, she has that particular angst, that longing to find a home for somewhere, to find a belonging, to know that she belongs somewhere. That's hence the title, I Must Belong Somewhere. And this collection was so hard hitting. It hit close to home for me, and I had to choke back my tears in a lot of places because I found it so relatable. I loved it. I mean, I haven't lived in more than one place, but I still found that relatability factor. It was glaring me in the eye, and it just came onto me, it burrowed into me while it glared at me and gave me a warm hug. And that was why this book is such a beautiful read, such a book that I absolutely loved, and I'm so glad I did pick this book up. Please do go read it if you get the chance to, because it has to be read. I'll just read out an excerpt from this book. It's a short poem, and I was in tears by the end of it, and this whole book will take you like 1.5 hours or something. So the poem is: despite my knowledge, these words swirl around my belly, a fetus of doubt and worry, a voice in the back of my head saying my existence depends only on my ability to birth another life. And I feel like this particular verse, I mean, I'm tired of saying it to people. I don't know. I can't say it enough, and people won't let go. And the second verse is, you should toughen up, is why I'm hard on myself. I've been told I'm soft, like soft is a bad word. That's my life. I gave I Must Belong Somewhere 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in December 2020 was a book that had been a long time coming. I had added this to the 20 books I want to read in 2020 list, and I finally ended up reading it, and I loved it. It was Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This is the story of Anne Shirley, who goes to Avonlea. She is taken in. She is adopted by a family, a brother and sister, and how her life over there, how she brings brightness to her family as well as to the people around her. It forms this entire story, as well as the fact that she manages to bring out the best in people by being so bright while not losing sight of her ambition, is what I loved the most about this book. It was so wholesome. You know, while I read this book, I was reminded a lot about Heidi, which I read earlier this year, and which I absolutely loved as well. But see, the thing is, sometimes you read about characters who are not like you and you still love them, and that's the whole point of literature. That's the whole point of fiction, to learn more about people who are unlike you as well. And if there are people like you that you're reading about, then that relatability factor helps you love the book even more. But that's beside the point. Anne is not like me, or I am not like Anne. And the way she was so bright and sunny, she is like, oh, it's such a beautiful morning, good morning, and all of that. And I am one of those people who get extremely annoyed by these bright people in the morning. Like, I'm not a morning person, that's why, that's all. And Anne takes it to a different level altogether. But you know what, after a while, that's what makes her so adorable. That's what makes her so loving, because she can bring that warmth into any situation. I know that someday I'm going to reread it and I'm going to buy Anne of Avonlea as soon as possible. I know that it's already on my wish list, like high on my wish list. I'm going to add that as soon as possible. Khyati was right. I should have read this a long time ago. But now that I read it at this point, it gave me that warm, soothing feeling. I gave Anne of Green Gables 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next up is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is the story of Piranesi who lives in the house. The house has different levels. The upper levels, the ground levels, and the lower levels. I think they are called the halls. And from the lower levels there's water in the lower levels, and then there's the clouds and everything, and there are a bunch of statues and all. And Piranesi records everything that happens in this house in his notebooks. He meets his friend, who he calls the other, on a set schedule during the week, and otherwise he thinks that everything is going fine, everything is going according to the plan that he has noted down. He has noted down the schedules, he knows what's coming when and all of that. He calculates things, and there are high tides, low tides, and all of that stuff. And all of this time he is thinking that they are the only two people in this whole house. But then messages begin to appear, and there are things that happen that indicate that there are more people in this house. There are more people who are coming in and going out, and there's this whole a revelation thing that's happening slowly. And some things Piranesi will accept, some things he won't accept. But this is such a great allegorical novel, you could say. And this talks about how humans aren't ready anymore to accept that there are more worlds out there to explore, and more worlds that, like Piranesi, you can bring yourself to be in, but because of the limitations that you are setting on yourself and on your imagination, you're not getting to be there. And I love that about this book. The author takes some time to set the foundation, the base, but once she does that, the meanings start jumping out at you from the pages, and you're like, oh, it was so obvious all along. But it takes some time for you to understand it, because you have to piece everything together. Because sometimes what happens is it can be very disconnected, like not in the sense that you are not understanding where to put what, but it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you have to bring it all together in the right way to see the bigger picture. But once you see that bigger picture, it's all well and good. It is such a twisted book, I could say. It was one of the weirdest books I read in 2020, and I loved it. Like, weird doesn't mean bad. So this is one that I would definitely recommend. If not for the story, then get it for the cover. Look at how stunning this is. I loved it. I gave Piranesi 4.25 out of 5 stars. Next up is A Pleasant Escape by Piyush Rohankar. I have spoken a lot about this in my video review for this book, so I won't talk much about it now. If you'd like to go watch that video review, then I'll leave the link here as well as in the description box below. This is a story of Alok Shirke, who wants to prepare for the UPSC civil services exams. So he moves to Delhi's old Rajendra Nagar, and he enrolls in classes, and he starts preparing, and he makes friends, and he learns more about the situations in the country. He learns about the backgrounds of these people and a whole lot more. There's so much to this book. There is wit, there's fun, there's banter, there is seriousness in the way that he learns about what could drive a person to do what he or she does. And I really enjoyed reading this book. It was a fun read. You can finish this in like 3 or 4 hours. It's a very light, easy breezy read. And the way that the author has tied this whole thing up, it might sound cliche sometimes, but the way he has tied it all up, the way he has brought it to fruition towards the end, I'm really a huge fan of. I gave A Pleasant Escape 3.75 out of 5 stars. Next up is Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. And I listened to this on Libro FM. Thank you, Libro FM, for giving me the opportunity to listen to this book. Jason Reynolds is a phenomenal narrator, and I really loved reading this book because of his narration, but also because the bigger reason is that the amount of information that this book talks about. It gives us about racism, anti-racism, slavery, the racist people who existed, the heroes that existed, and how they were prone to being racist. There's this whole thing going where the author talks about every single instance in such a short manner that you feel like you know the entirety of American history by now, and you realize that, oh man, the people who they used to look up to are not that great people, and that probably explains the racism and white supremacy that exists to this day in America. You just know by this point. But this was phenomenal. You must read more about it, because not only does the narrator, the author, they bring about that witticism, that humor in a book that makes you want to learn more about history. They have put it in at appropriate places, and I really loved reading this book. It was a fun way of learning more about any country's history for that matter. I wonder what will happen if someone were to do an audiobook like that on India. It's gonna be painful. I gave Stamped Racism, Anti-Racism, and You a full 5 out of 5 stars. Take 5 more from me if you want. Next up is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This ended up being one of my favorite books of 2020. It's heartbreaking. It makes you cry. It fills you with emotions that you didn't think you would have, or maybe I did think I would have, because I had predicted in my end of the year book tag that this might be a book that would wreck me, and it did. I was right. One of my predictions came true for 2020. Anyway, this is a story of two sisters, Isabel and Vianne, who have completely different personalities. Their early upbringing and the things that they went through in the beginning of their lives, and what Vianne had to face at that time, and how Isabel took it all into her stride and made it into something that she would build upon and set out on this path. This is as much a story of sibling bonding as it is about two women trying to make their way through the war, and while taking some difficult decisions that do not seem difficult to them at all. For us, it may seem like, what a great but difficult decision to take, but it did seem like that for them. I don't know what I'm talking anymore. But there is more to this book, this story, than just that. This also talks about the resilience of human spirit and how it can get through anything, and the courage that it takes to take such certain decisions and to make the right choice, to do the right thing throughout it all, while undergoing your own battles. While doing it all, this forms this entire story, and I loved it. I was a wreck. I cried like a baby, and I didn't know what to do with myself after the end of this book, because this book is so good, man. So good. I was a proper wreck. This was a full 5 out of 5 stars for me. I would highly recommend this book, and just go read it, man. Just go read it. Next up is Wetlands by Charlotte Roche, and it's the worst book that I have ever read. Ever read, hands down. And I've also made a video about it, the second part of it, which will come soon. And that's all I'm going to say about this book, because this book does not deserve more people talking about it. It's that horrible. That's all. 1 star, 0 stars, negative stars, whatever. But yeah, if you'd like to go watch me ranting about that book, then I'll leave the link to the first part here as well as in the description box below. Next up is the Drama Queen-a-thon book club pick for the month of December, and that is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. And you know what? The moment I finished reading this book, I was like, okay, good, this is 4 stars. But in hindsight, it's a 3 stars for me. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and this talks about the Queen of Hearts stories and why she became the way she was. Like, she was this kind of person who was very cruel, who made snap decisions without understanding what she was doing. Her temper flares every single time, and this was her story, how she was brought up in a time when women were supposed to be stick thin. They were not supposed to eat much. They were supposed to be married and have children, and that's what their whole purpose was. I don't think much has changed in most parts of the world, but still, I didn't say anything. Anyway, this is that story and how she came upon to be the Queen of Hearts, because her father is a Marquess, I think, and the King of Hearts, the Kingdom of Hearts, wants her to be the queen. And how all of this happens forms the entire story, and we had this huge discussion about this book. I feel like this was just put there for the heck of it. And even though my Goodreads review says that I love this book because of how contextually the author has taken every detail from Alice in Wonderland about Queen of Hearts and given her a backstory, I sort of feel like in hindsight it's a rather tedious book, especially because the main character is so stupid. So many of the details in the book were unnecessary, and now I feel like, why even? But it was not all bad. I really liked how that context was set, and how the queen's backstory came about, and the reasoning behind her behaviors and all of that. And I enjoyed that part a lot, even though I felt that the book was rather tedious for me. Other than that, I do like this book, although not as much as I thought I liked it at the moment when I finished reading it. So it was 4 stars at the time, but now it's going to be 3 stars for me. Next up is Coraline by Neil Gaiman, and I'm such a huge scaredy cat that I got spooked by a children's novella, and I was scared to walk from this room to the bed. And I don't know, maybe that's just Gaiman's writing that make it feel so real. Everything feels so real. So this is a story of Coraline, who is living in a house with her parents, but then she finds this door through which she goes, and she finds exact duplicates of her parents, but they have buttons for eyes and they seem all off, like they are thinner and they are paler and all of that. And now Coraline has to find a way back home, and this is a fun read, and I really enjoyed reading this because I finished it so fast, and also because I was staring in awe as Coraline did everything with such bravado. She was so fucking brave. I mean, I wish I was like Coraline and give me some more of that courage. Even as a grown-ass adult, I can't find that courage within myself to walk from this room to the kitchen to get a glass of water at 2 in the AM. But Coraline is like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to go to this other side, and then there's going to be talking animals, and I'm going to behave like everything is fine. And God, how could you be like that? I mean, I'm in awe of that. I really adore Coraline for that, but still, please, come on. But Neil Gaiman's writing, as usual, has a note of whimsy in it. This whole book is one such book. So you just, that flow he goes into, you just become a whole big fan of, because he writes so well, so beautifully. It's so simple, yet it will evoke those feelings, those emotions within you, and you just want to say, give her back, like right now. I gave Coraline 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is a DNF. I didn't want to include in my DNF book list because I don't know, it wasn't that great of a book for me. That's why I DNF'd it. Huh. So smart. But the book is Conversations with Coherent Worlds by Anusha Sridharan, and man, I don't even know what those poetry collections were. It was like the author was channeling some old dead white author from her, and she was making it really hard to understand, and I was not a fan. I'm really sorry, it did not work for me. Next is My Man Jeeves by P.G. Wodehouse, and I really wanted to love this book, man. The parts where there are Jeeves' stories, I really loved, but do not club some other stories with Jeeves' stories, no. Because, you know what? The collection is called My Man Jeeves, so there has to be only Jeeves in this. Do not make a collection with any other stories when you're putting Jeeves in the title. But wherever there was Jeeves, there was P.G. Wodehouse's typical wit and humor, dry wit, sarcasm. I know I repeated it, but there was all of that makes P.G. Wodehouse books his books. They make it so much fun, and that part I loved it, but the other parts, they were plain boring. I did not like them at all, and that is why I gave this book 3 stars out of 5, and I'm really heartbroken about it a little. The last book that I finished in December 2020 was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This was a part of the 20 books that I want to read in 2020 list, and I'm so glad I got to it. Trigger warning for this book: violence, drugs, sexual abuse, addiction, overdosing, and murder and gore, and there's a lot of such things going on in this book, so please be careful if you decide to pick this book up. This is the story of Alex Stern, who joins Yale's freshman class, but not for the reason that you think it might be. Alex has to now monitor the secret societies of Yale University. Like, there are a lot of secret society doing a lot of secret shit over there, and she has to oversee all of that and make sure that nothing untoward happens to raise the suspicions of certain people. And she is going on with her life this way, but then suddenly a girl is murdered, and now Alex is pulled into that rabbit hole, that black hole, because she wants to find out what happened. She might see glimpses of her own past in that girl's situation before she got murdered, so she has that pull towards the case, and now she wants to find out who did it. And to do this, she has to explore a lot of new things, forbidden magic, talking to ghosts, the way she can I don't want to go there because it might be a spoiler, but this book takes some time to get into. There's a lot of heavy stuff in the first half because the author is trying to lay the foundation for this book, and she wants to make sure that we understand what's going on, very obviously. But once she does do it, you just fly through the book because of how the author knows how to put into words, like colloquially. Like, we are not going to be the people who are just going to have drab conversations, right? There's going to be that fun element, there's going to be that smartness to a response, and Alex is one such person. She has this equation with a detective called Turner, and that guy is always like, why have you always got to be looking like you want to come off strong? Why have you got to be like that? And Alex is like, I'm just like that, survival instinct or something. And this whole book is filled with that, and I love Alex. She does what she thinks is right, and she also knows that her history makes her feel like she does not want the others to meet the same fate, not to undergo the same things as she did. And I love that. I love that about it. And the writing, Leigh Bardugo, is amazing. Like I said, the first half, I think, not till the first half maybe, but a good chunk of this book, it takes some time. It feels rather tedious because the author prefers to put down the foundation in the manner of establishing context. Like, she does not specifically and outwardly say that this is this. You have to glean from the context that, oh, okay, so this is like this. And that is one of the reasons why I love Leigh Bardugo the most, because sometimes when you say explicitly, it does not give off the same wow feeling when it does when you have to get the meaning through the context, through the narrative that's going on. And that's what I loved about this book. I did not expect to love this book. At one point I was like, I might even DNF it, I might not go ahead with it, but I ended up loving it. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm really waiting for the next book to come out. I don't know when it's going to come out. So those were all the books that I read in December 2020. Which of these have you read? Which ones did you like? Which ones did you not like? What books did you read in December 2020? Which was your favorite book of December 2020? And which book are you currently reading? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.